The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Council sparkled under the light of three suns. Inside, thousands of beings from across the galaxy gathered for their millennial meeting. Some floated in anti-gravity bubbles, others slithered across the polished floor, and a few stayed in protective tanks filled with their home atmospheres. They all shared one thing. They came from safe, gentle worlds. At the center of the dome, High Speaker Reed, a tall being with silvery skin, tapped his ceremonial staff against the floor. The sound echoed through the chamber, bringing immediate silence. "We gather today," Reed's voice carried through the universal translators, "to address our greatest failure. For 10,000 years, no species has passed the Precursor's crucible test. This shame weighs heavily upon us all." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The crucible test, left behind by the mysterious ancient precursors, had defeated every attempt to conquer it. Some of the galaxy's strongest warriors had tried. The smartest minds had failed. The most advanced civilizations had given up. Perhaps, a jellyfish-like being suggested from its water tank, "The test is impossible by design." We chilled. The chamber doors burst open. A human walked in. The assembly fell silent. Many representatives moved away, creating a clear path to the center. The human wore a simple blue uniform with silver stripes on the shoulders. He walked with the natural confidence of someone used to higher gravity, his steps heavy against the floor. "Captain James Stone," he announced himself, representing Earth. High Speaker Reed's silver skin turned slightly pale. "Earth? The Death World." "Class 12 Death World, yes," Stone said with a smile. He looked around at the gathered aliens, noting their reactions. Some had heard of Earth. Others were quickly checking their data devices. Their horror grew as they read about Stone's homeworld. "Impossible," one representative whispered. "Nothing survives on a Class 12 world." "We do pretty well," Stone said, still smiling. "In fact, we're thriving. Earth has 7 continents, each with different challenges. We've adapted to all of them." The assembly buzzed with worried conversation. Reed tapped his staff again, restoring order. "Captain Stone," Reed said carefully, "you realize this meeting discusses matters beyond your species' understanding. The Crucible test has defeated civilizations that were exploring the stars when your kind still lived in caves." Stone's smile didn't waver. "That's why I'm here, actually. Earth would like to attempt the test." Laughter erupted across the chamber. Not mocking laughter, but the nervous kind that comes from disbelief and fear. "The Crucible test," Reed explained slowly, as if talking to a child, "has killed better beings than you. The strongest warriors of the Crystalline Empire lasted 6 hours. The legendary minds of the gas giants surrendered after 12. The test breaks both body and spirit." Stone pulled out a small device and projected images into the air. Earth's landscapes appeared one after another. The frozen Antarctic wastes, the burning Sahara, the crushing depths of the Mariana Trench, the toxic volcanic vents where life still flourished. "With all respect," Stone said, "I've seen your data on the test. The conditions don't seem that bad." "Not that bad." A plant-like being rustled its leaves in agitation. "The gravity is 1.2 times standard. Earth's gravity is 3.2 times your standard," Stone replied. "The temperature swings are extreme. Less extreme than a typical Earth spring day. The atmosphere is toxic. Sounds like Tuesday in Australia." The chamber fell silent again. Reed studied the human carefully, looking for signs of deception or madness. He found neither. "You truly wish to attempt the test?" Reed asked. "Yes," Stone said. "In fact, I'd like to bring a small team. We'll treat it as a training exercise for future explorers." The assembly erupted in chaos. Some demanded the humans be banned from attempting the test to preserve its dignity. Others wanted to study these strange deathworlders. A few suggested updating their threat assessment of Earth. Stone stood quietly, watching it all with that same calm smile. He'd seen this reaction before, Every time humans did something the galaxy thought impossible, it never got old. Reed finally restored order and turned to Stone. Very well. Earth may attempt the crucible test. May whatever gods you believe in have mercy on your souls. Thanks, Stone said, already thinking about what camping gear to pack. This should be fun. 2 days after the assembly, Stone stood before a massive holographic display in the Council's testing chamber. Around him, alien scientists nervously explained the crucible test's details. Their voices shook as they described what they considered unsurvivable conditions. The testing ground is a sealed environment 10 kilometers wide. The lead scientist, a floating orb of blue light named Bright, explained. The gravity starts at 1.2 standard and can increase. Temperature ranges from freezing to burning. The air contains elements toxic to most life forms. Stone nodded, taking notes on his tablet. Sounds like a normal day in Minnesota, minus the mosquitoes. The aliens exchanged worried looks. They didn't know what Minnesota or mosquitoes were, but the casual way Stone mentioned them was disturbing. There's more, Bright continued. The chamber contains engineered predators. They're designed to be the perfect killing machines. Do they hunt in packs or alone? Stone asked, suddenly interested. Packs of 3 to 5. They have enhanced strength, poison claws, and thermal vision. Stone looked disappointed. Oh, like small wolves then. I was hoping for something more challenging. High Speaker Reed, who had been watching silently, stepped forward. Captain Stone, you don't understand. These creatures were designed by the precursors themselves. They're perfect hunters. Perfect hunters. Stone laughed. Sorry, but Earth's honey badger would like a word. Not to mention our bears, tigers, or great white sharks. The aliens' universal translators struggled to process these terms, but the casual way Stone listed them sent shivers through the assembly. The psychological effects, another scientist added quickly, are the worst part. The environment is designed to break your mind. The isolation, the constant danger, the harsh conditions. Sounds like a relaxing camping trip, Stone replied, still making notes. Quick question. Are we allowed to build shelters, hunt the predators, set up a proper base? The scientists looked confused. You want to build things? In there? Well, yeah. If we're staying for 30 days, we might as well be comfortable. Stone showed them his notes. I'm thinking we could set up a basic camp here by the water source. Maybe do some hunting and fishing if that's allowed. Could even start a small garden if the soil's workable. Complete silence fell over the chamber. The aliens stared at Stone's plans, which looked less like survival notes and more like a vacation itinerary. This is not a vacation. Reed finally exploded. This is the ultimate test of a species' worth. The crucible that has broken millions. The challenge that... Yeah, about that, Stone interrupted politely. I've been meaning to ask, what exactly are we being tested for? The question caught everyone off guard. For thousands of years, species had tried to pass the test without ever questioning its purpose. Bright floated forward. The precursors left instructions. The species that passes this test will be deemed worthy of their legacy. Their greatest secrets and technologies will be revealed. Stone scratched his chin thoughtfully. So it's like a job interview. What? Never mind. Stone stood up straighter. I'd like to formally request permission to bring in a 5-person team. Standard exploration setup, nothing fancy. Reed looked at the other council members, who all nodded slowly. They had already accepted that this attempt would end like all others, in failure or death. Permission granted, Reed said solemnly. You have 3 days to prepare your team. May your gods... Great, Stone interrupted cheerfully. I'll call them right now. They're going to be excited. We haven't had a good challenge since that underground expedition in the radioactive caves. As Stone walked away, already talking into his communicator about packing the fun supplies, the aliens huddled together in worried discussion. Should we warn them about the hidden dangers? One whispered. Would it matter? Another replied. These humans, they're different. Did you see his plans? He included a spot for something called a barbecue area. Reed watched Stone leave, a growing sense of unease in his silver skin. For the first time in his long life, he wondered if the test might actually be too easy. On the final day of the test, the entire Galactic Council gathered to witness something they never thought possible: a successful completion of the Crucible test. What they saw left them speechless. The humans hadn't just survived, they had created a thriving community. Marcus's garden now produced enough food to feed 20 people. The Predators, under Rita's training, worked as hunting partners and guards. Tom had built an entire entertainment complex in the torture chambers. Anne had cataloged and found medical uses for most of the toxic plants. Test completion in 10 minutes, Bright announced, their glow flickering with excitement. Reed looked at the monitor showing the humans' final moments in the chamber. Should we prepare the emergency medical teams? Actually, Stone's voice came through the speakers. We have a few requests before we leave. The aliens waited nervously. What demands would these incredible beings make? What secrets would they want? What technologies would they ask for? First, Stone said, we'd like to keep the Predators. Rita's gotten really attached to them, and they're better behaved than most Earth dogs now. Second, Marcus added, I need about an hour to harvest the vegetables. Seems a waste to leave them. Third, Tom chimed in, can we book this place for next year's vacation? The acoustics in the horror chamber are amazing for guitar practice. The ancient precursor system, which had been silent since its defeat, suddenly activated its main hologram. A figure of pure light appeared in both the chamber and the observation room. You have passed the test, the precursor eye announced formally. But not in any way we anticipated. You will now receive our legacy, all our advanced technology, our scientific knowledge, our... Quick question, Stone interrupted politely. Does your technology include anything that can handle gravity higher than Earth's, or predators more dangerous than our wildlife, or maybe weather more extreme than our normal seasons? The precursor eye paused, accessing its databases. After a moment, it spoke again, this time sounding slightly less confident. Our greatest achievements were creating this testing chamber's conditions, which are milder than a camping trip in Australia, Anne finished. And our perfect hunting beasts, who now play fetch and respond to belly rubs, Rita added, scratching Fluffy behind the ears. The precursor AI fell silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, its tone had completely changed. Perhaps, it said slowly, we should reverse this arrangement. Would humanity be willing to share some of its knowledge with us? Your ability to not just survive but thrive in conditions we considered impossible is remarkable. The council chamber erupted in shocked whispers. The mighty precursors, asking to learn from humans. Stone looked at his team, who all nodded in agreement. We'd be happy to share what we know, he said, though most of it is pretty basic stuff. Adaptability, creativity, looking for opportunities instead of problems. He grinned. Plus, never underestimating the value of a good campfire and some ghost stories. As the team packed up their belongings and their new pets, the council was already drafting new proposals. They wanted to learn about Earth's environments, study human adaptation techniques, and possibly set up cultural exchange programs, though few aliens were brave enough to actually visit the Death World. One last thing, Reed said as the humans prepared to leave. We need to create a new classification beyond Class 12 for Earth. No other world we know of comes close to your planet's conditions. Oh, Earth's not that bad, Tom said, packing up his guitar. Sure, everything tries to kill you. The weather's crazy, and the gravity's rough. But he smiled. That's what makes it home. The human team left the chamber for the last time, their predator pets following loyally behind them. They had done more than pass an impossible test. They had changed the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. In the years that followed, the Crucible test remained open. But its purpose changed. It was no longer a test of survival, but a training ground where other species could learn the human way of facing challenges with adaptability, creativity, and most importantly, the ability to find joy in the impossible. And if you visited at the right time, you might still hear Tom's guitar echoing through the chambers, playing what he called the ultimate camping songs. The council's preparation chamber buzzed with nervous energy as Stone's team arrived. The aliens had expected warriors in heavy armor or scientists with complex equipment. Instead, they got 5 humans carrying what looked like camping bags. "Team, meet our hosts," Stone said cheerfully. "Hosts, meet the team." Rita stepped forward first, her muscular frame making several aliens back away. She carried a simple bow and a hunting knife. "Combat specialist," she said, "but I mostly just like hunting. Haven't had a good hunt since those dire wolves in northern Canada." Marcus came next, a weather-beaten man with a tablet and some soil testing equipment. Environmental scientist, looking forward to studying the local ecosystem. He grinned. "Can't be worse than that time we studied the bacteria in volcanic vents." Tom walked up, carrying what looked like cooking gear. "Survival expert, but honestly, I'm here for the camping. Brought my favorite cast iron pan." He patted his bag. Nothing beats fresh-caught meat cooked over an open fire. Anne, the team's medic, was last. She carried a simple medical kit and was reading the environment data with interest. "This toxic atmosphere you're worried about reminds me of the air quality during wildfire season. No big deal." The alien scientists watched in horror as the humans unpacked their gear. No protective suits, no advanced weapons, no emergency escape pods, just basic tools, some food, and what looked like recreation equipment. "Is that a guitar?" Bright asked, floating near Tom's bag. "Sure is," Tom replied. "Can't have a proper campfire without some music." Reed stepped forward, his silver skin practically white with concern. "This is not a camping trip. This is a survival test that has killed countless beings." "Yeah, about that," Rita said, testing her bowstring. "We looked at the predator data you provided. Are you sure about their stats? They seem kind of weak." "Weak?" A scientist almost fell out of their anti-gravity bubble. "They're the perfect killing machines. They're smaller than timber wolves," Rita said, "and slower than big cats, and their poison is less potent than a brown snake's." She looked disappointed. "I was hoping for a real challenge." Marcus was studying the soil samples. "Hey, this dirt's actually pretty good. Better than that radioactive wasteland we had to farm last year. We could grow some decent vegetables here." The aliens watched in stunned silence as the humans continued their preparations, treating the deadly test chamber like a vacation spot. They discussed fishing spots, hunting grounds, and the best place to set up their camp. "One question," Anne said, looking up from her medical scanner. "These psychological horrors you mentioned, are they like actual threats or just scary noises and hallucinations?" "They're designed to break your mind," a scientist exclaimed, "to make you face your worst fears." "Oh, just regular horror stuff then," Anne said, clearly relieved. "That's fine. I did my residency in a Chicago emergency room. Nothing scares me anymore." Stone gathered his team for a final check. The aliens couldn't help but notice they were laughing and joking, sharing stories about previous adventures that sounded far worse than the Crucible test. "Remember that time we had to rescue those miners from the underwater volcano?" Tom asked. "Or that weekend camping trip in Australia where everything tried to kill us?" Rita added. "Good times," Marcus said, nodding. "This should be fun, though. Nice easy month in a controlled environment." Reed made one last attempt to make them understand the danger. "No species has ever survived this test. Many have died trying." The humans paused their conversation and looked at him. Then they all started laughing. "With all due respect," Stone said, wiping tears from his eyes, "those species never had to survive a Black Friday sale at Walmart. As the team shouldered their packs and headed toward the test chamber entrance, the aliens heard them discussing dinner plans and who would take first watch. Not because they were afraid, but because it was camping tradition. Reed watched them go, realizing that perhaps the galaxy's standards for impossible needed serious revision. 3 weeks into the test, something unprecedented happened. The ancient precursor system, programmed to test species to their limits, did something it had never done before. It broke its own rules. Warning lights flashed in the observation room as the system pushed beyond its safety limits. The gravity increased to 4 times standard. The temperature swung wildly between extreme heat and cold. The atmosphere became even more toxic. The predators received an aggressive upgrade to their hunting instincts. The system's trying to force them to fail, Bright exclaimed, their glowing form flickering with worry. Reed watched the monitors nervously. How are they responding? Inside the chamber, the humans were having breakfast. Gravity's up a bit, Tom noted, flipping pancakes on his cast iron pan. Feels like home now. Weather's getting more interesting too, Marcus added, securing extra supports for his now thriving garden. Reminds me of spring in Chicago. The upgraded predators, now with enhanced aggression and hunting skills, charged into the camp. Rita looked up from where she was teaching Fluffy to roll over. "Oh, looks like the others want to play too," she said cheerfully, pulling out some more treats. Within an hour, she had the entire pack doing tricks for food. The precursor system, seemingly frustrated, activated all its psychological warfare programs at once. The air filled with terrifying visions, reality-bending horrors appeared. The very ground seemed to whisper ancient fears. Anne looked up from her medical journal. "Hey Tom, could you play something louder? These spooky sound effects are getting a bit annoying." Tom switched from peaceful campfire songs to what he called rock music. The psychological warfare system's effects were completely drowned out by the sound of his guitar and the team's singing. "The system's reaching critical levels," a scientist warned. "It's pushing everything to maximum." Stone gathered his team for a quick meeting. The aliens leaned forward, expecting them to finally show fear. Instead, they watched the humans pull out paper and pencils. "All right, team," Stone said with a grin. "Since the test is trying harder, let's make things more interesting. I'm thinking we turn this into a proper obstacle course. Any suggestions?" The next few hours left the alien observers speechless. Instead of cowering from the enhanced challenges, the humans built a climbing wall using the impossibly harsh terrain, created a water slide in the deadly acid pools, after Anne confirmed the acid was weaker than cola, set up a hunting range where they taught the predators to participate in training exercises, turned the horror-inducing chambers into what they called a haunted house attraction, started taking bets on who could stay in the highest gravity zone the longest. "This is impossible." The precursor system's AI voice boomed through the chamber, speaking for the first time in thousands of years. "You cannot treat the ultimate test of survival as a recreational facility." Stone looked up from where he was helping Marcus build an irrigation system for the garden's new extension. "Why not?" he asked. "We've got food, water, shelter, and entertainment. The predators are great companions once you train them right. The gravity's perfect for exercise. The weather keeps things interesting." He shrugged. "Seems like a nice place for a vacation home." The system tried one last time to break them. It created what it considered the most terrifying scenario possible: complete isolation and darkness. The humans responded by having a party. "Perfect atmosphere for ghost stories," Tom said, starting up a campfire. "And the darkness makes stargazing better," Rita added, lying back with one of the predators curled up beside her like a pet. In the observation room, Reed watched as the precursor system's indicators started showing signs of what could only be described as confusion. "They've broken it," Bright said in awe, "not by fighting it, but by enjoying it." The humans continued their evening, trading stories and roasting marshmallows, completely unaware that they had just done the impossible. They had made the ultimate test give up first. The massive door of the Crucible test chamber sealed behind the human team with a heavy thud. In the observation room, hundreds of alien scientists and council members crowded around the monitors, ready to document another species failure. Atmosphere release in 3, 2, 1, Bright announced. The toxic gases filled the chamber. The aliens leaned forward, expecting screams or panic. Instead, they heard Rita's voice through the monitors. Smells like New Jersey. The team moved through the harsh landscape with surprising ease. The ground was broken and jagged, with sharp rocks everywhere. The gravity was getting stronger. The temperature swung between freezing and boiling. Nice weather, Tom said, already setting up what he called a base camp near a cave. Reminds me of that spring in Colorado. Remember that trip, Marcus? Yeah, had all 4 seasons in one day, Marcus replied, testing the soil. Hey, this ground's perfect for those hardy tomatoes we brought. The aliens watched in disbelief as the humans ignored the deadly environment and set up what looked like a comfortable living space. Anne had already started organizing their medical supplies in the cave, while Stone mapped out the surrounding area. First predator pack approaching, a scientist announced tensely. The aliens watched the screens as 5 of the deadliest creatures ever engineered stalked toward Rita, who was collecting firewood. The beasts were perfect killing machines, scales like armor, claws like razors, teeth dripping with venom. Rita looked up, noticed them, and smiled. Hey guys, she called out to her team. Looks like dinner's coming to us. What happened next made several aliens look away from their screens. Rita didn't run. She didn't hide. She drew her bow, aimed, and in 5 quick shots, brought down 3 of the predators. The other 2 fled. Fresh meat, Tom shouted excitedly. I'll get the marinade ready. By the end of their first day, the humans had built a sheltered camp, started a small garden, set up defensive positions, though they called them viewing spots, and were cooking predator meat over an open fire while Tom played guitar. The psychological attacks should begin soon, Reed said hopefully. No one survives those. Right on cue, the chamber systems began their mind-breaking program. Strange shadows moved in the darkness. Horrible sounds echoed through the cave. The air itself seemed to whisper ancient terrors. The humans reacted by telling ghost stories. And when she opened the airlock, the space spider had laid eggs in the control panel. Marcus finished his tale, while the others laughed and roasted something that looked like marshmallows. Decent story, Rita said, but not as scary as that time we found that thing living in the subway tunnels. In the observation room, the aliens were frantically checking their equipment. This is impossible, one scientist muttered. The environment is at maximum hostility. They're treating it like a vacation. Another added in disbelief. Look, Bright pointed at a screen. There, they're planting flowers. Indeed, Marcus had started a small garden near the cave entrance. A little beauty never hurts, he explained to the others. Besides, some of these might be edible. As night fell in the chamber, the humans set up their watch rotation. Not out of fear, but as Stone explained, because that's what you do when camping. They slept peacefully through conditions that had driven other species mad. Day 1 complete, Reed announced shakily. 29 to go. Want to know the really scary part? Bright asked, reviewing the data. According to their vital signs, they're actually relaxed. They're enjoying this. In the chamber, the humans slept soundly, their campfire burning bright against the artificial darkness. Tom's guitar lay silent, waiting for tomorrow's songs. The only sound was Rita's quiet humming as she kept first watch, disappointed that the predators hadn't come back for a rematch. The test had just begun, and already the observers were beginning to wonder who was really being tested here. 2 weeks into the test, the observation room was in chaos. The alien scientists weren't watching the humans anymore. They were studying Earth. This can't be right, Bright said, floating frantically between screens. Their homeworld's gravity is 3 times stronger than the Crucible's maximum setting. Reed stared at the data pouring in. Every new piece of information about Earth made his silver skin grow paler. Their temperature ranges, one scientist whispered. Look at this place called Death Valley. It's hotter than our maximum heat setting. And this, Antarctica, colder than our coldest point. Another alien was studying Earth's wildlife. Their normal animals are worse than our engineered predators. They have creatures called honey badgers that just don't die. Inside the Crucible, the humans had turned their survival test into something the aliens had never seen before, a thriving community. Marcus's garden was growing well, producing vegetables in soil that was supposed to be toxic. Just needed a bit of composting, he explained while picking fresh tomatoes. The predator droppings make great fertilizer. Rita had started training the remaining predator packs. They're basically big puppies, he said, scratching behind the ears of a creature designed to be an unstoppable killing machine. A bit slow, but they're learning to fetch pretty well. Tom had turned the psychological torture chamber into what he called a cozy den, complete with furniture made from local materials. The horror-inducing whispers now had to compete with the sound of his guitar and the team's singing. Should we tell them? One of the younger scientists asked Reed. About what we've discovered about Earth. Tell us what? Stone's voice came through the speakers, making the aliens jump. He was looking directly at the hidden camera they thought was perfectly concealed. Reed sighed. There was no point hiding it anymore. Captain Stone, he said formally, we've been studying your planet. The Crucible test. It's actually easier than your normal living conditions on Earth. The humans looked at each other. Then they started laughing. Oh, we know, Anne said, treating a small cut on Marcus's hand from his gardening. We figured that out on day 1. You knew. The aliens were shocked. Then why didn't you say anything? We didn't want to hurt your feelings, Tom said, tuning his guitar. You all seem so proud of this test. But the predators, a scientist protested. They're the perfect killing machines. Rita whistled, and 3 of the perfect killing machines came running up like eager dogs. They're sweet once you get to know them. Not very bright, though. I named this one Fluffy. The aliens watched in stunned silence as their deadliest creatures played fetch with sticks. The toxic atmosphere. Another scientist tried. Cleaner than Los Angeles, Anne replied, not looking up from her medical journal. The psychological horrors. Less scary than tax season, Marcus said, planting more vegetables. Stone stepped forward, looking at the camera with a kind smile. Look, we appreciate all the effort you put into this test. But maybe it's time to update your standards. I mean, half our team comes from Australia, where literally everything actually is trying to kill you all the time. In the observation room, Reed looked at his fellow council members. Should we stop the test? On what grounds? Bright asked. They're not just surviving. They're turning it into a sustainable habitat. According to the original rules, that's beyond passing. The humans continued their daily routine, untroubled by the revelation. Tom started playing a cheerful tune on his guitar, while Riva taught one of the predators to sit on command. Marcus tended his garden, Anne organized her medical supplies, and Stone worked on expanding their living area. The aliens realized something profound. The test hadn't just failed to challenge the humans. It had given them a vacation spot they considered pleasantly mild.